I was given this beautiful silver birch tree by the late Tony Higginson of Tony's Bonsai, and it's now time to get it out of this tub and make some decisions about its future. So join me to see what my plans are for this tree and to see how you can turn something like this into beautiful future bonsai. This tree, a beautiful silver birch, is probably the tallest tree in my personal bonsai collection. And it was a gift from Tony Higginson, who you probably know better as Tony of Tony's Bonsai. And I visited Tony in March of 2023.
Jason Hanrahan, Jason Hanrahan, Jason Hanrahan. Do you want a cup of tea, mate?
And that was primarily to spend the day with him to get his thoughts and views and to film his contribution for my video on bonsai and mental health. And if you haven't seen that video, I really recommend that you go have a look at that, if only for Tony's incredible contribution to that piece of work. This tree has the potential to become one of the most striking and beautiful trees in my collection, with its mature white bark, and it's developing this lovely weeping aspect. I've applied some wire on there to start bending the tips of these branches down to give it that typical weeping birch profile. And this tree really, I believe, is now at a stage where it's ready to move on from this pot and is deserving of a beautiful display bonsai pot. And I see this tree in a wide, shallow bonsai pot, perhaps a sort of very pale pastel green colour. But I have two problems. The first is that I don't actually have a suitable pot to put the tree into at the moment. Despite having a look around at the Doncaster Bonsai Experience recently and seeing a couple of potential pots, I didn't really see one that I felt was exactly what I was looking for this tree. The other issue is actually this tree has never been out of this pot whilst it's been in my care, so I don't really know what's happening with the roots underneath the soil, and therefore I need to get it out of this pot, investigate and have a look at the roots to see whether it's even feasible to get this tree into a shallow bonsai pot. So my plan today is to get this out of this washing up bowl, to clear away the existing soil in there, and to have a bit of an explore of the roots and see what the condition of those is. And then it might be a case of having to gradually, over a period of years, reduce down that root ball so that it will fit in the pot that I see this tree eventually sitting in. Visual weight and balance play crucial roles in bonsai aesthetics, influencing the overall harmony of the composition. Some of these conventions are derived from artistic and photographic composition principles, like the rule of thirds, to give a sense of repose, stability and naturalness. Proportions of pot height to trunk width. This ratio ensures that the pot complements the tree's trunk size, providing stability and visual balance. A pot's height should generally be proportional to the trunk's width to create a harmonious visual relationship between the tree and its container. This balance prevents the tree from looking either too heavy or too light in the pot. Pot width to tree height. The ratio of pot width to the tree height helps determine the overall visual balance of the composition. Typically, the pot's width should be around 2/3 of the tree's height. This ratio provides adequate support for the tree, while maintaining a visually pleasing proportion between the foliage and the container. These ratios are devised to mimic the proportions found in nature and to create a sense of harmony and stability in the bonsai composition. However, there are circumstances where these ratios might not work perfectly. Exceptional tree characteristics. Some bonsai trees may have unique characteristics, such as unusually thick trunks or sprawling root systems, that deviate from the typical proportions. In such cases, adjustments to the pot's dimensions may be necessary. to maintain balance and aesthetic appeal. Artistic expression. Bonsai are also an art form, and artistic expression sometimes overrides strict adherence to proportions. Experienced bonsai practitioners may intentionally deviate from the traditional ratios to create a specific visual effect or to convey a particular emotion or theme in their composition. Personal preference. Ultimately, the choice of pot dimensions and proportions may also depend on the personal preferences of the bonsai artist. Whilst adherence to principles of visual weight and balance is important, individual artistic vision and style can influence the selection of pot size and shape. In the end, these conventions are broad guidelines only, but you can do what you like with your own trees. So now let's get this out of this washing up bowl and have a look at the roots. You can see that there is a mass of roots in the pot, so I'm quite pleased there. What I now need to do is get rid of some of this heavy soil and expose those roots so you can see properly what we've got. And perhaps appropriately, I'm using one of the wooden potting chopsticks that Tony made. I'm just gently combing and raking out the roots. Combing out from the centre of the tree outwards so as not to damage those roots. It's quite a time-consuming, laborious process, so I'm going to skip ahead. So you can see now that I've got rid of most of that soil. There's a mass of tangled roots and I'm just gently teasing those out. And I need to cut away this mass hanging down. I can get rid of a lot of that length. And I'm just cutting through this tangle of roots to make the root ball much shorter. There are a couple of quite heavy surface roots, and this one in particular affects the planting angle of the tree. So because there are some supporting roots underneath, I think I'm going to remove this one. I have a bit of a poetic visual language for trees. I see oaks as the mature, strong and sturdy king of trees. The Japanese maple is the delicate, showy princess, and the silver birch, to my mind, is the regal, elegant queen. There's still something of quite a thick taproot underneath the tree, which is causing it to sit not quite as flat as I would like it to. And I'm going to remove that. I'm a big fan of these wide perforated baskets. Because of the perforations, they allow excess water to drain through and also provide a lot of great aeration to the roots, which helps encourage lots of fine feeder roots, which is exactly what we want. I'm just adding some tie-down wires, which will secure the tree in the basket and stop that moving about too much whilst the fine feeder roots are developing. This has allowed me to examine the roots and to prepare it for a future bonsai pot. The aerated basket will allow it to put on a mass of healthy feeder roots to ensure the health of the tree. Because silver birch are prized for their beautiful white bark, I'm concerned about these tie-down wires damaging the roots and marking the tree, so I'm just using a bit of aquarium air hose to act as a sleeve over the tie-down wires to stop those from marking the roots and the tree. Tony was a big character who touched many people with his enthusiasm, fearless and often experimental approach to bonsai, and his great sense of humour, self-deprecating and sometimes quite dark and witty, which I hope comes across in several of the video collaborations we did together. He was also quietly very competitive. Although he sadly left us in the late summer of 2023, he did leave behind a vast legacy of YouTube videos and passed many of his beloved trees into the care of friends and family. Reducing roots in a tree over multiple growing seasons is a delicate and gradual process aimed at developing a shallow root mass suitable for transplantation into a shallow bonsai pot. This method, known as root pruning, requires patience and careful observation to ensure the tree's health and vitality throughout the process. Here's a general outline of how root reduction can be carried out over several growing seasons. Initial assessment. Begin by assessing the tree's root system to determine its current state and overall health. Identify any large or circling roots that may need to be addressed during the root reduction process. First, root pruning. In the first growing season, focus on removing any large, thick roots, like downward growing tap roots, that are not essential for the tree's health and stability as a bonsai. Use sharp, clean tools to make clean cuts, avoiding tearing or damaging the remaining roots. Trim back any long, circling roots to encourage the development of more compact root system. Monitor growth. Throughout the growing season, closely monitor the tree's growth and response to the root pruning. Pay attention to any signs of stress or decline, such as wilting foliage or slurred growth, and adjust watering and care as needed to support the tree's recovery. Subsequent prunings. In the following growing seasons, continue to prune the roots gradually, focus on refining the root system and encouraging the development of finer, feeder roots. Each year, remove a proportion of the root mass, gradually reducing the size and depth of the root ball, and encouraging the growth of new roots closer to the trunk. Transplantation preparation. As the root system becomes more compact and shallow over successive growing seasons, the tree will be better prepared for transplantation into a shallow bonsai pot. Monitor the development of the root system closely, ensuring that the tree remains healthy and vigorous throughout the process. Final transplantation. Once the root system has been sufficiently reduced and refined, carefully transplant the tree into a shallow bonsai pot using well-draining bonsai soil. Position the tree in the pot, ensuring that the roots are spread out evenly and that the tree is stable and secure. Ongoing care. After transplantation, continue to monitor the tree's growth and health, adjusting watering, fertilization and care as needed to support its development in the shallow pot. Regularly inspect the roots to ensure that they remain healthy and properly contained within the pot. By gradually reducing and refining the root system over multiple growing seasons, the tree can develop a shallow root mass suitable for transplantation into a shallow bonsai pot, ultimately enhancing the overall aesthetic appeal and balance of the bonsai composition. So this is the tree in its new temporary home for the next 12 months, and I plan next spring, once the roots have regained a little bit of health and developed that flatter root plane, to get this into a nice ceramic display pot. And let me know what you think of my plans for that shallow ceramic pot, and whether you agree or whether you think that it needs to be planted in something different. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to check out my bonsai and mental health video. Thanks for watching.